I will not remain silent while President Obama, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, members of the House, senators, presidential candidates, and media executives who drive public opinion hide their hands as if they are not responsible for the deadly and contentious relationship that now exists between communities of color and law enforcement. Leaders, the blood of people killed unjustifiably by police and the blood of police officers killed in response to unjustified killings drips from your hands. You respond to our complaints about rogue police officers by telling us that law enforcement agents do their job with integrity and honor. You also remind us that there are only a few bad apples. And each time a black person is killed by a police officer, you urge the black community to be calm, to be patient. Let the process play out, even though the process almost never holds the offending law enforcement agent accountable. In the meantime, coroners across the nation continue to scrape from the ground the bodies of black people wrongfully killed by police officers. Racist policing in America is nothing new. In fact, one of the most vivid memories from my young adult years is of a black man lying on the pavement in the city of Detroit, Michigan, with blood spewing from a gunshot wound to his head. The man had been chased by a suburban police officer and shot dead for stealing a piece of meat from a suburban grocery store. If the truth were to be told, the number of black people killed without justification by law enforcement officers is staggering. Maybe that is why America, arguably one of the most advanced nations in the world, has yet to maintain reliable numbers on the number of people killed by police. Without accurate numbers on police killings, it is impossible to calculate the genocidal effect that police killings are having with respect to limiting black population growth. When an officer kills, the officer kills the victim as well as the victim's future descendants. So we are forced to simply wonder, what percentage of America's population would blacks now represent if black people were not being gunned down by police officers every single day? I shall never forget a post I viewed online following the killing of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. The writer proclaimed gleefully that now we do not have to worry about Michael Brown or his spawns, referring to Michael's offsprings. Just as that black man I remember so vividly who was killed in Detroit, Michigan, there are people across our nation who have similar or the same images. Images of Michael Brown's body decaying in the hot Ferguson sun for over 4 hours while his blood trickled down the pavement. Images of Eric Garner yelling, "I can't breathe," as his air chambers closed. Life left his body and still the officer showed him no mercy. Images of Sandra Bland being stopped for a minor offense, ordered around like a dog, only to surface days later dead in her jail cell. Images of Army veteran India Kager and her male associate Angelo Perry executed by Virginia Beach SWAT team members who pumped over 30 shots into India's car while her 4-month-old baby sat in the back seat. Images of Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old, playing on a playground and officers approaching and without a question or a pause, gunning Tamir Rice down. The image of Philando Castile as he took his final breath in a blood-soaked shirt, killed for retrieving his ID as commanded by the officer who shot him. And what about the image of Alton Sterling on the ground, subdued by officers, and then a point-blank shot that extinguished his life? Micah Johnson, who killed 5 police officers and wounded 7 in Texas, and Gavin Long, who killed 3 officers and wounded 6 in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, were also clearly affected by the images that we've all seen. There is no question that the acts of Micah and Gavin were horrific. But I still think it is incumbent upon us to ask ourselves, who were Micah and Gavin before we came to know their names? Both served in the armed forces and swore to and did protect and serve this nation. Both had multiple tours of duty in a foreign land. Both countless times saluted their superiors, sang the national anthem, and recited the Pledge of Allegiance, including the phrase, "with liberty and justice for all." Both were also known once as America's finest. But somewhere along the way, these men of service changed, and we must ask ourselves why. In America, law enforcement functions as a fraternity. Its members proudly tout their stronger-than-steel bond, their blue code, their shield, and their brotherhood. It should not be surprising to any of us that the public accrues the misdeeds of one officer to all officers. I was not at all surprised by the reasons that Michael and Gavin provided for their murderous acts. I've looked into the eyes of countless young black men and women in Ferguson and across this nation like Micah and Gavin, and witnessed their humanity being drained by a nation that allows police officers to use black people as target practice every single day. We should not be surprised that 2 young men who went to war for this nation acted on what they learned from this nation. The pursuit of retribution is not a new concept to Americans. It was our nation that combed the globe and killed Osama bin Laden for bombing the World Trade Centers. It was our nation that scoured the earth and killed ISIS leaders who beheaded innocent Americans. As Malcolm X so eloquently stated, "I'm for truth no matter who tells it. I'm for justice no matter who it is for or against. I'm a human being first and foremost, and as such I'm for whoever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole." We have a solution to police brutality, and it is called the Uniform Reporting Law Enforcement Improvement Act, or URLIA. URLIA gives rise to a national pattern or practice data bank that must be used by every local, state, and federal law enforcement agent and private duty security officer in the nation to document interactions with members of the public. URLIA also affords the members of the public an opportunity to log into the POP database in a limited fashion and provide information about their encounters with the law enforcement agents. The information compiled within this data bank will allow oversight bodies and officials to quickly identify problem officers, remove them from the force, and permanently ensure that they never work in law enforcement again in the United States. URLIA will also give rise to a new use of force statute, one use of force statute instead of a use of force statute that varies from state to state. Many states now have statutes that are intentionally designed to aid law enforcement agents who commit unjustified killings. URLEA also completely changes the policing standard in the United States and introduces the concept that is called an obligation to preserve life and prevent injury. In reality, the obligation to preserve life and prevent injury is not new. It is a standard that is observed in affluent white neighborhoods by law enforcement agents every single day. URLEA also ensures that every law enforcement involved use of force event is investigated by an independent team that has absolutely no affiliation with law enforcement agents. But these are only a few of the many, many provisions URLEA offers. And you can learn more about URLEA by visiting our website at www.changeisonus.org. Now, we have provided the URLEA legislative proposal to the President and to every member of Congress more than a year ago. But you've probably not heard one of them reference this essential legislative proposal. Rather than working to make URLEA law, our leaders work to deflect attention from the real issues of police brutality, which is that law enforcement agents are literally exterminating black people. But to our leaders and to their deflection, I say, no more. No more mischaracterizing America's policing problem as a training issue. Training alone can never correct a deeply entrenched, dysfunctional system like policing that is corrupt at the core. No more claiming that law enforcement agents do too much. Law enforcement agents, like every worker in this nation, has a myriad of responsibilities. Their job description lays them out. Law enforcement agents are expected to intervene in domestic disputes, aid with traffic, and engage in other actions that are intended to preserve public peace and order. I also say to our elected officials, no more enacting new laws to strengthen the shield of law enforcement officers without first addressing the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is that black people are being unjustifiably killed by law enforcement agents at an astounding number. And there are also members of the white community and other communities of color that are being killed without justification. That is the problem. Every time elected officials hearken to the request of police unions for more armor or more military equipment, you advance America's police state. The solution is URLEA. I also say to our leaders, no more declaring, as Dallas police chief did, that a law enforcement agent's first responsibility is officer safety, especially when officer safety comes at the price of innocent lives. Law enforcement agents take an oath to serve and protect, and they should be expected to live up to that oath, just as firefighters, Coast Guard swimmers, Secret Service agents, and other first responders live up to their oath to protect and serve. Also, no more lumping police violence in with gun violence. They are two separate and distinct issues. Leaders, it is my belief that you link gun violence and police violence in order to avoid having to deal with the racial component of police killings head on. And for heaven's sakes, leaders, no more pretending that America's policing problems stem from lack of educational achievement or economic disparity on the part of black people. Black people have unwisely accepted many things, but we will not accept responsibility for police officers killing us without cause. Leaders are known by the fruit they bear and not by the rhetoric or eloquent words they espouse. Effective leaders, they do not succumb to cynicism, nor do they succumb to the pressures of those who would thwart progress. Effective leaders, they identify and accurately define the problem. They devise effective solutions and then corral the resources needed to ensure that the solutions are put firmly in place. To everyone who hears my voice, our leaders will not address in a meaningful way America's policing problem until you get involved and help create a groundswell of support on the magnitude that presidential candidates amass. Until you do that, we will continue to count black bodies in the street. I encourage you to go to our website at www.changeisonus.org. I ask that you sign up so you can become a part of this movement. Also remember that change is on us. My name is Gerald Sanders, and I am president of ONUS, Inc., a 501c4 organization. Thank you.
Are you coming to the streets where dead men call out? It's justice that we need. Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we close our doors, pretend we do not see.